The housing market is, well, always changing. And the Southern Oregon housing market is much different than the housing market in, let's say, New York or LA or San Francisco. So, why would you get your information from a source that's focused on the national housing market when you can get your information from a local source? You're in the right place for that. So, grab a drink, grab a snack, get comfy, and plug in while we talk about the Southern Oregon real estate market. Welcome to your weekly update of the Southern Oregon real estate market information. Episode 1 is what we're calling it, and that's because this is the first episode of the new format where I'm going to just share the data and then I'm going to tell you what it all means for you as a homeowner or home buyer or seller or investor. So this is where you're going to want to get the latest information about the specifics of the local Southern Oregon housing market so that you can make the decisions that you need to make about real estate. I'm Brian Simmons with eXp Realty, and I'm a licensed real estate agent in Southern Oregon, and I thank you for tuning in. So let's cut right to the chase and dive into the data, and I'm going to discuss my thoughts. So here we go. So for the market data this morning, it is June 21st, and we're talking about Jackson and Josephine counties of Southern Oregon. We're looking only at single-family residential homes. We had 1,092 on the market, and I'm looking over at my monitor here, so just FYI there. 1,092 homes on the market as of this morning, 123 new listings hit the market in the last 7 days, 133 price changes in that same time period, 32 came back on the market, 112 went pending, 86 closed, 31 were either expired, withdrawn, or canceled, and that's really the data that I try to look at. So what jumps out to me immediately there is that we saw pending jump back up. So the week prior to last week, it was only at 90, and so we saw it go from 90 to 112. So that's great. It has been fluctuating though, kind of right in that range for some time. So going back into like the beginning of May, that was our first week. We jumped over 100, but going back to like the beginning of April, we were always in the 90s, 94, 91, 98, 99, 93. And then that first week in May, we jump into the hundreds for the number of new pending transactions in a week. So we've been between 106 and last week or the week prior was the low of 90. So 90 to 106 has kind of been that range. And then we jumped up to 112 last week, which is nice to see. And it's interesting to see that because I don't really have any sort of explanation for why. There was not a reduction in interest rates, mortgage interest rates. There was really nothing that would, cause that. So it's just one of those things where we're just kind of in that range. And it's nice to see, that people are still buying, and we're seeing kind of that range maintain, since the beginning of May until now. So we'll see what continues to happen there. Same story on the pending or on the close side of things. Close though is an interesting one because it doesn't really, in my opinion, it's not really a good indicator of what's going on today. It's a good indicator of what happened, 5-6 weeks ago, and how much of those transactions that went pending 5-6 weeks ago were able to actually be held together. And so if we look back at that 5 or 6 weeks ago, 3, 4, 5, we had, let's call it 99 transactions or 99 homes go pending. And so 5-6 weeks later, we have 86 closes. So that means, 15 or whatever that is, 13 fell apart. That happens, right? And so we've seen, that on average, typically 20% or somewhere in there. That's less than that, but it's somewhere in that 10 to 20% range can fall apart any week. And so anyway, so that's what we see there. It's really not a great indicator, though, closed of just what's going on today. So that's why I tend to talk more about and focus more on pending because it's more reactive to what's going on with the actual mortgage rates in the market overall. What I wanted to kind of explain too is just where we're at relative to last year. I talk about that pretty frequently because that's something that a lot of people wonder about. They think, the market is much different than it was last year, and it's really not that different. If we look at, the data, the market data last year, we had 1,131 homes in the market. This year we have 1,092. So we have less inventory right now. We had 165 new listings, and I'm looking at the exact same week last year, the week that ended June 21st. We had 165 new listings last year. We have 123 this year. So less new listings are hitting the market. We have less inventory, less supply being added to the inventory. Okay. We had less price changes this year versus last year, 133 to 176. Okay. We have less pending, 112 to 130, right? So a little bit less pending going on there, and less closed, of course, 86 to compared to 100. But when you look at those as a percentage of inventory, we're actually pretty darn close. We have 10.2% of our inventory has gone pending in this last week, whereas last year was like just over 11 and a half. So not very far off, really at all in any measurements compared to last year. I'd say it's very, very similar. The one thing that is different is our mortgage rates. Last year we were just at 6%, and right now we're like just under 7%. So we are we're not, I don't know, I guess you could say a 1% difference is pretty substantial when it comes to an interest rate. But I think the key is the difference in what the like market sentiment was back then versus now. And if you think about, June of 2022, we were looking at, let me just look at my little chart here. We were at, what did I say, 6% was the interest rate back then. Okay, so then look a year prior to that, June of 2021, we were at 3%. So think about that as really the good explanation of what's been going on. Last year, people were like, holy crap, we went from 3 to 6%. That's insane. This year, people are like, oh, we went from like 6 to 7%. That's not really that big of a deal. So I think that's what you're seeing. I think we're seeing, that and showing up in the data is just people kind of have accepted that rates are higher now, and hopefully they'll go down. We don't know. Obviously, we see things like this morning. The Fed chair Jerome Powell said, made some comments that are going to probably negatively affect interest rates and may cause rates to jump up a little bit. We don't know, but he said that the Fed probably has more work to do in terms of hiking the rates to fight inflation. Who knows what the effect that'll have? I expect it to probably make rates go up a little bit, but we don't know. We'll see what happens. Eventually, I would expect them to come back down because I think that in an election year, the president is going to want to have a good economy and all that kind of stuff to be able to reference back to. And say, hey, look at all these great things we fixed. Inflation was a problem, we fixed it. I would think that makes sense to me, but what do I know? So we'll see what happens. Of course, we'll keep you posted and keep you up to speed on all that stuff. But that's really, the key information that I'm seeing right now as it all relates to the Southern Oregon housing market. I think we're in a really, really solid position. I think, what I'm still seeing is most activity is happening like under that 500 range. It's really kind of like the tale of two markets is kind of the best way to put it. I think you have like the sub $500,000 market and like those homes in the 3s and 4s. Those are going pretty quick if you price them right. Hopefully that makes sense. So if you price them right, meaning like relative to the neighborhood that it's in, you can still overprice a home, right? If your home's surrounded by $400,000 homes and you shoot for 485, it's probably not going to do much, even though it's still under 500, right? You're overpriced. So if you're priced right and you're in that 3 to 400 range, those are selling quickly. Okay. If you're priced right, wrong, or whatever, above 500, they kind of are like not going as fast. That being said, like there are exceptions to that, of course. There's beautiful homes that are priced right, that are in great areas, and those are desirable no matter what. So those are the ones that are selling quick. But if you got a place that's like a little quirky or a little unique, maybe it backs to a busy street, or your neighbor's got a lot of junk in their yard or whatever, like those are the kind of things where they may sit around a little bit. But anyways, that's really kind of the gist of it today of what I wanted to talk about. Hopefully that helps you get an idea of how the market is in Southern Oregon today. And so if there's anything you need to do with real estate, anything I can do to help you, please don't hesitate to reach out. My direct number is 541-954-7758. You can call me, text me, whatever's easiest. And I'd love it if you could provide some feedback on this new format. Do you like this better, or do you like the quick 60-second shorts that I was doing previously? I'd love to hear some feedback on that. And also, if you'd like to make sure that you are getting this update every week, just subscribe to my YouTube channel and click that bell icon. And that way you'll be sure to be notified anytime a new market report comes out. So again, I'm Brian Simmons. I am a real estate, bleh, I can't even talk. I'm a real estate agent here in Southern Oregon. I'm with eXp Realty, obviously. And I thank you for watching. So we'll see you on the next video, and hope you have a great rest of your week. Take care.